she is a snake and a liar.
I do not have any
Snakes
regrets.
regret nothing. They bite without remorse.
No, guys, I can't deal with this. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I can do this show anymore.
Well, in today's recap, we discuss NBC's hit game show of high risk, high reward as it's given the reality TV treatment as they take the game to the banker's private island in search of his ultimate opponent. Let me welcome you all to Deal or No Deal Island. Now, in the days before reality competition took over the airways, I got my fix from watching game shows, and Deal or No Deal quickly became one of my favorites during its 2005 to 2009 original run. The show had elements of strategy and luck, and it was just so captivating to watch, keeping you on the edge of your seat as the model would slowly open each briefcase just ever so slowly. Now, almost 20 years later after its debut, almost here, the game show has been given a fresh new look as the banker trades the luxuries of the Hollywood studios for the grit and seclusion of their own private island, as the show becomes the first in a game show turned action adventure reality TV show in Deal or No Deal Island. Here, players compete in challenges to find briefcases worth more than $200 million hidden around the island before trying to beat the banker in an attempt to become the biggest winner ever in the history of Deal or No Deal. Can the show make history, and does it have what it takes to become the newest juggernaut in the reality TV scene? Well, let's discuss more in my spoiler-free review. Deal or No Deal Island's format is a twist on the original game show of the same name. In this game, players will play in challenges that will test characteristics that the banker believes makes up the ultimate player, where skills like their precision, trustworthiness, ruthlessness, or risk-taking ability will be put on the line. Those who do the best in each challenge will hold power, while those who do the worst will be up for elimination in a game of Deal or No Deal against the banker, where their goal is to make a good deal, or a deal that is higher than whatever value they have in their own case. If they do this, then they will save themselves from elimination, instead being able to be free to eliminate whoever they want who is not safe, leaving any player up for grabs at any time. But if they make a bad deal and settle for a value lower than what's in their case, they themselves will be eliminated from Deal or No Deal Island. As far as the elimination method goes, it is an interesting take on the original format of the show, but with far less stakes every round since the money won is banked until the winner of the show plays against the banker in the finale, which will be the money that will be in their final case. So, while the eliminations sometimes take a bit of attention away, I personally have always enjoyed Deal or No Deal for what it is, so this slightly neutered version of it is still pretty good, and I'm just happy to see it on our screens again. I also think there's a lot of different ways the banker is able to shake up the game, even in just the first season, so even small twists like the banker sleepover or the personal offers feel like just a taste of what we could see in future seasons. So, for its first go around, I'll give the format of Deal or No Deal Island a solid B+. Now, when it comes to the casting, this is my biggest thing with this season. If you really enjoy Boston Rob, when you're a fan, then you're really going to enjoy the show. If you're not so much a big fan, then your mileage is going to vary because for me, these newbie players, as we'll call them here, are not great whatsoever. Outside maybe two or three of them, which happen to also be the people that are kind of tied to Boston Rob in some ways, I just don't find the others to be memorable, exciting, or particularly rootable whatsoever. The dynamic of the show having one of the most seasoned veterans of reality TV show, it's definitely felt here because Boston Rob really kind of carries the show on his back. And, outside of a few of the others, I don't really even know or care very much about them, honestly. At the same time, I don't know if I really even wanted to really get to know them either. Like, there's a few of them that just ended up downright unlikable to the point where I could possibly put them on my least favorite reality TV contestants of the year if I was to make a list for that. The boot order is also pretty painful, for as much as I could say without giving outright spoilers. And overall, I'll just say I've seen better casts on Netflix shows. I'm going to give them a C for this cast, and I said what I said. Now, as far as the actual editing and the story behind the show, I do think there are a lot of love here on the show behind the scenes, and the edited product isn't too bad. The elimination decisions feel pretty well explained for the most part without being too predictable, and there's a generally positive and fun tone from our hosts and our model, at least. There are some glaring negatives for me, though, as some of the casting issues are prevalent here, where the story revolves around a chosen few, to the point where 13 just feels like too large of a cast. There's a few people that last into the mid game that I still to this day have no idea who they are, and I will say there were a few points in the show where a few production decisions feel like they were made to benefit a few specific players, which I'm slightly biased to because those players that benefited were players that I tended to enjoy. So I can't say that I'm mad at that, but the riggery is real. So while it is a mixed bag, I do think it airs more so on the edge of good, so I'll give them a B plus for the edit. Overall, Deal or No Deal Island is an interesting and solid take on a shifting what was once a weekly game show into a multi-episode action-adventure strategy game. While it's not perfect, it is an engaging project with the promise of one of the highest cash value prizes in the history of reality TV shows. But at the same time, ended up with a first cast that could be one of the worst in the history of reality TV shows. I mean, okay, they're not that bad, but they definitely could be one of the worst of the year of the shows that I've reviewed to date, and they left me with much more to be desired. While it is not perfect, it is a great first attempt from the show with a very unique premise, so I'm left with positive feelings, left behind here in the rubble of this series' debut, as there is a great foundation here that can be built upon in future seasons. I'm going to give Deal or No Deal Island a B, and I definitely suggest saying deal to watching the season, especially now that every episode is available for binging, so you could bypass one of the most egregious cliffhangers in the history of cliffhangers ever. So, now you know what the show is and what my thoughts are on it, let's get to the real tea, y'all. If you haven't seen the show, I definitely suggest stopping here or use the chapter guide to go to specific episodes. So it all begins here in our season premiere. Now we have some opening confessionals to get to know some key players of our cast, including Nick, a 29-year-old sanitation worker and former college athlete from Brooklyn. Claudia, a former Deal or No Deal model who I can remember watching on my TV screens growing up. And Boston Rob, who doesn't even need an introduction after his reality TV legacy is spanning all the way from 2002. We also meet Aaron, a 26-year-old accountant who overcame a speech impediment as a child, and he and Boston Rob make a bond right away in the car as they decide to stick together right till the very end. Now, in our first excursion, the banker decides to ask the episode title, Are You a Gambler? As the banker's assistant tosses over $4.5 million worth of cases into the jungle, one of them worth $1 million. They will race through the jungles and the mud to gather cases, and the player with the highest case will be immune, while the two players with the lowest case amounts will be up for elimination. For his first test, the banker wants to see again who is the biggest risk taker, so there are two red cases here. One has the lowest number, while the other has a steal a case from any other player that they could go. They take off into the jungle, and the first excursion is on. Now Dawson has the $1 million case. Rob notices it, but decides to play it cool, going for the 600K case instead. Stephanie also has a moment where she lies to Boston Rob about her case value, which makes him doubt in her trustworthiness right off the bat. Kim, who is the oldest contestant and is currently unemployed as she recently lost her job, has the hardest time and literally has to be helped by Rob and Dawson out of the mud. Jordan notices she doesn't have a case and offers her a random $7,000 case. Now, once they're all back on the platform, Joe reveals that the banker is disappointed that no one has decided to take one of his red cases. So he offers the group $10,000 for anyone who goes back into the swamp to get a red case. Kim reveals she does not feel safe and wants to go back for the offer. Branson, the pro poker player, decides to go and help Kim and collect a red case for her so she doesn't have to go get it herself, but his move automatically backfires him really hardcore, really badly, because Boss and Rob calls him out on it to the rest of the players, questioning why he would make a move so blatantly against the group. He doesn't take the case for himself, though, choosing to give the red case to Kim, but there's nothing but eyes on him when Kim reveals that she actually gets to steal a case. We learn the contestant with the bottom two cases will be up for elimination, and the player with the highest case value will determine which of these two will face off in a game of Deal or No Deal for their life in the game. Knowing she has to make a big move, Kim decides to say if whoever has the $1 million case will say it, she will save them from elimination, and whoever actually has the lowest value will be the player up for elimination. Dawson bites on the deal, revealing he has the $1 million case, allowing Kim to steal it from her and giving her the immunity and complete control over which of the bottom two will play for elimination. It is revealed that despite getting a six-figure case of 150,000, Aaron's case is actually the lowest, and he will be up for elimination alongside Dawson. Joe also reveals how the elimination games will work, as the Deal or No Deal game has been slightly altered, and in order to save their life, the player has to make a good deal, accepting an offer that is more valuable than the case they are holding. If they are able to make a good deal, then instead of being eliminated, they will hold all the power and decide which of the non-immune players get sent home. When they get back to their living quarters, we get a conversation between a lot of the men where Branson tries to justify his actions of getting Kim her case, but it looks like none of them really trust him all that much as a result. There's also another get to know you session later that night, where some of the storylines that we have featured up to here, as well as Claudia revealing that she is a deal or no deal model in the past, whereas Amy says that everyone famous needs to go. This leads Kim revealing Boston Rob's history to the rest of the group, and in an attempt to get the target off his back, Brent then joins in the conversation as well to point out what a threat that Boston Rob is. And Jordan comments in confessional that Boston Rob is her number one target, who should be first to go. The next morning, Branson does his best to mitigate the damage that he's already done, attempting to get Aaron on his side to not target him if he doesn't come for him week one. Aaron goes to Boston Rob for his guidance, to which he laughs off Branson's offer of 3 weeks of safety instead of committing to Aaron for the entirety of the game because that's a true bad deal. Rob, however, is very tuned in to Stephanie, his fellow Boston resident. He realizes that Stephanie is already pulling all the women in, and realizing that everyone wants Branson out, he thinks it may be better to try to convince Aaron to take a shot at someone else instead, because Branson will always be the target. So, Boston Rob tries to sell Aaron on taking out Stephanie, which makes Aaron doubt Boston Rob because Aaron actually thinks Stephanie could be a future ally to him, whereas Branson won't be. So, Aaron questions if he should actually make the move against Boston Rob instead. We learn at the Banker's Temple that night that Kim has decided to stick to her word to Dawson, sending Aaron into elimination that night. We learn that any money tonight that is won is added to the group prize pot, so although he wants to make a good deal, he also wants to make an offer that is good for the endgame pot. He decides to choose case 10 in honor of his lucky charm, which is his girlfriend. He starts out well, taking out the $50 and $500 cases, but then he takes out the 275K, 500K, and 300K cases. He gets back on track, taking out the $100, but then hits the 750K and 225K, leaving a board with 7 low values and 5 high values, including the $1 million case. His first offer is $45,000, to which he says, no deal. At the start of the second round, Aaron has to knock out 7 cases, first getting the $1 and 750. Claudia helps Aaron get out the penny, which is like, go girl, use that past experience. Amy helps take out the $300 for Aaron, and he also gets the $10 taken out, leaving only 2 low values with 2 cases still to go. Aaron ends up unfortunately knocking out the $200,000 and then the $1 million case, the same case that Boston Rob suggested for him to take out. This leaves 5 values on the board: 600K, 400K, 250K, $75, and $25. $107,000 is the new offer with 3 amounts above the offer. He decides to say no deal and continue on, opening 2 more cases. He starts out a little rough, knocking out the 250K case, but then counters with the $25 case, leaving 600, 400K, and $75, and leading up to his largest offer so far, $266,000. With only cases 4 and 8 and his own case 10 remaining, Claudia tries to give Aaron some advice, saying he has a safety net if he goes one more, and she leaves the $75 as in case number 8. He says no deal and trusts Claudia's gut, and she's right, and the $75 is eliminated from contention, meaning there are only 2 cases left, $400,000 and $600,000. His final offer is $445,000, but Aaron, knowing it's a 50-50 regardless, says it might be in his best interest to pass up the offer and hope he has the 600K in order to maximize his options. He makes the brave move to open up his own case, and he's right that he has the $600,000 case. Aaron makes a good deal and beats the banker, meaning he has the power of elimination completely in his hands. Not wanting to rock the boat, Aaron makes the obvious move to take out the most universally untrusted player on the island, and Branson finds himself as the first player eliminated from Deal or No Deal Island. And with that, the game is officially on, and I'm so glad I don't have to say Branson anymore because the pal is that name not hard to say. We check in with Aaron the morning after his elimination at the start of episode 2, and Boston Rob tries to continue his bond with Aaron as well. They're talking about targeting Kim, who hasn't spoken to any strategy to Boston Rob whatsoever, and there's a funny scene where Aaron stops talking when Kim walks by, which is kind of hilarious because you can't stop talking, you gotta know how to switch conversations. And Boston Rob is smart to be very wary of Kim, because Kim is spreading around the Boston Rob that he needs to go. Jamil does not seem receptive to her idea, though, and tells Boston Rob right away that Kim's coming for her. It seems like the group splits into Nick, Rob, Miranda, Jamil, and Claudia versus the rest of Jordan, Dawson, Kim, Amy, and Alyssa. Alyssa decides she wants to play all sides, though, and gets into Aaron's ear, attempting to take Boston Rob's place as Aaron's best ally in order to take the account to the end, where she feels like he has the best shot to win a challenge against him. In their second excursion, where the banker asks, "Are you calculating?" the players will be broken into teams of two. The hunter, who will be in charge of shooting arrows at the targets in an attempt to knock out the targets with the highest case values, and the gatherers, who must collect arrows by using a rope and pulley system to get them high in the trees. There's also a $20,000 personal offer in the attempt the gatherers from getting arrows as well. So, what will they do? Our teams end up being the gold team of Stephanie and Nick, purple team of Rob and Aaron, the red team of Claudia and Jamil, orange team of Dawson and Jordan, blue team of Amy and Miranda, and the silver team of Kim and Alyssa. Now Aaron is struggling the hardest on the pulley system, literally stuck on the bottom without an arrow, while everyone has already at least one here. Claudia only needs one shot here because she hits the $750,000 case for the red team in one go. Stephanie attempts to hit the 1.5 mil but misses, and instead hits the 300K just to make sure that her and Nick have something on the board. Dawson misses multiple arrows at the 500K, deciding to aim and hits the 400K instead. Rob notes that no one is really going for any of the higher values, believing that everyone could be very risk adverse. Amy goes for this point as well, hitting the 450K for her and Miranda, while Alyssa decides to take the personal offer, keeping it for herself, but getting all 10 arrows. Kim attempts to go for the higher case values with those arrows, but is struggling. After wasting 5 arrows and not coming close for the 1.5 mil, Alyssa tries to get Kim to instead hit the 500K. Aaron eventually comes back with 3 arrows, being too tired to get any more, so Boston Rob decides to go big or go home, aiming for the $1.5 million case. But he misses twice as well, meaning it comes down to the last arrow between Kim and Alyssa, and Boston Rob and Aaron. Kim goes for her shot and misses, while Boston Rob manages to smash his last shot, scoring the $1.5 million case for him and Aaron, and winning the challenge. Meanwhile, Kim and Alyssa, the only team to not hit a target, are automatically in the bottom 2. Now, when we get back to camp, the rest of Rob's alliance, which is Nick, Claudia, and Jamil, realizes they are now targets if Alyssa or Kim come back. As Aaron has a close relationship with Alyssa, he doesn't want to put her in, meaning Kim is going to go in. This worries Boston Rob, since Kim is definitely of her own strategic mindset and will take out whoever she wants, and her sights are set on Jamil, but it also seems like Claudia could be very high on her list as well. So, tonight, it's a little different as there's only 12 offers out on the board. The top values are the values collected by the teams this week, and the lower offers added in by the banker, which definitely raises the stakes. Kim picks case 5 and begins her opening of 6 cases in the first round, getting $1 and 1 penny right off the bat. However, her luck changes a bit when she knocks out the 450k and the 750k. Kim counters with $300, but then knocks out the 450k, leaving her with a very low numbered board at the same time, with her first offer being $135,000. She has a 2 in 3 chance of having a good deal, but deciding she wants to go for the money, Kim says no deal. Claudia openly calls her out, feeling like she made a mistake. Kim then knocks out the 50k, feeling good initially, but then knocks out the 300k, which is ironic because it's Claudia's number. So while there are still three low numbers, there is still the $1.5 million case in play. Her second offer is 225k, which is literally a 75% odds that she has a good deal. Kim realizes this and decides to take the deal. Offer again, $225,000, and in Kim's case, she has $100, meaning Kim made a good deal and beats the banker. This brings the final prize pot currently to $825,000 and means that Kim has all the power to eliminate anyone who is not Rob or Aaron. Deciding to make the move on someone who she finds very sneaky, Kim decides to eliminate Jamil and thin out a member of Rob's numbers, and sadly, the random second place curse takes out another randomly underrated player, and fortunately, that was Jamil this season. I really don't think I remember anything about the guy, but since I'm rooting for Rob and Claudia, I guess by proxy I was on his side, but better him than someone else. Also, I love the fact that Claudia has officially put out the hit on Kim after this episode. Claudia is turning out to be a lot more fun and dramatic and confrontational than I was expecting, and I'm living for it. Moments after the second elimination, tensions are high, mostly because Boston Rob wants them to be, so he continues to stir the pot to get attention against Kim for her comment about kicking everyone's ass, which others like Alyssa and Claudia agree that it felt personal. It feels like it kind of works, especially after Alyssa starts to pull in others to make sure Kim ends up in the bottom. However, Stephanie does not seem entirely on board because she's not the one with beef with Kim. They are. In their third excursion, the banker asks, "Are you fearless?" One at a time, players will be lifted into a tree canopy and then dropped swinging towards a target that they must use a sandbag to land on one of the cast values, or a steal, in order to snatch someone else's case. Rob swings first, hitting the $1 million target. Kim is scared of heights and freaks out when she flings it, getting only the 50k. The next few secure their safety as Dawson hits 500k. Tiger King and Amy gets 375k. Jordan scores 350k. Claudia lands the 250k, while Miranda takes the 175k case. Things don't look so great for Nick initially when he hits 150k, but the game changes entirely when Stephanie hits the steal spot, as now she's going to have to decide whether or not she's going to do the group's dirty work or not. But when everyone questions why Stephanie wants to possibly take Boston Rob's case for instant immunity, Stephanie starts to pretend to not know anything about the plan for everyone to take out Kim. This sets Claudia off because she's done being fake nice with these people, especially Kim, and she lets it all out in the jungle as Joe and the rest sip their iced tea, and then all of a sudden a tree falls in the jungle in the background, like, what? I wouldn't want to F with Claudia right now. Claudia decides to be a G and just offer up her own case, telling Stephanie she'll be safe when she beats the banker later that night. Stephanie caves and decides to take Claudia's case, realizing immediately after taking it she was literally tricked by everyone into not taking Boston Rob's case, or the almost guaranteed immunity that came with it. However, Aaron being Aaron completely fails his attempt, getting 45k, now meaning Kim has been saved from the bottom two and is now up against Claudia with only Alyssa remaining to throw. However, Alyssa is the clutch player and is easily able to secure her safety with a 150k target, but watches as her plan completely implodes as her allies Aaron and Claudia find themselves in the bottom two, while Boston Rob finds themselves with immunity for the second excursion in a row. Boston Rob makes it pretty clear that he will not be jeopardizing Aaron's place in the game, and there is very little discussion, it seems, going into Temple that Claudia is going to be getting to live out her dream of playing Deal or No Deal tonight. And as a fan, we're hoping that this is just one of the many games she's going to get to play this season. So tonight there are 20 cases, 10 brought back from the excursion, and the 10 low numbers from the banker. Claudia obviously selects the case that she's known for holding, case number 1, and everyone mentions around her that her case feels like a winner. Well, things immediately don't start out well here for Claudia as she goes with her original case number 9 and knocks out the $1 million immediately. Her luck seems to turn around as her next cases are 50K, $50, $10, $100, and $300. But her final three cases to knock out in the round are the 250K, the 875K, and the 45K. The banker calls her first offer 57K, but being the baller she is, Claudia says it isn't enough, and it's going to be a no deal. Round 2 takes out the 750 and $1, but then the 150K and 350K. Claudia knocks out the $75, $25, and $50, but her final case that she knocks out for the round is the $125 case, leaving the half million, 175K, and the penny case. When the banker delivers Claudia's offer of 180K, she notes that this offer is odd for this kind of board given the penny is still out there, making her think that the banker knows that she has the 50K, but the odds are still 2/3 in her favor. So, despite second guessing herself with the banker's mind games, Claudia takes the deal for 180K and raises the final case to well over $1 million. When she ultimately opens her case, though, Claudia was right that she had the $500,000, meaning Claudia has made our first bad deal of the season and has eliminated herself from the game. I gotta say, we are losing such a goddess in Claudia tonight because she spoke her mind and didn't really give any F's about it. And I was living for a dream world where Claudia and Boston Rob would have ended up in the final two, because that would have just been amazing. I'm ultimately surprised Claudia didn't go all in her own case just because, I mean, if I was the producers and I'm giving Claudia's case either one of the higher amounts or the penny just to make sure that she's safe here. I gotta say, Claudia went out on her own terms though for the most part. And if you're not gonna win, it's almost best to be in that position to play for your life than to be the one who gets sniped out. And let's just say I hope for a comeback season where Claudia returns, to play with other deal or no deal models because I would be here for it. Episode 4 begins with the morning after Claudia's tearful and heartfelt elimination that happened far, far, far too soon. And we check in from both Kim and Rob that they're definitely both coming for each other. Meanwhile, Rob is starting to sense that Aaron is actually a lot closer to Alyssa than he thinks, especially as Aaron states in confessionals he's keeping his princess card Alyssa as close as possible over his fun card Nick or his powerful card Rob. Also, apparently Miranda is the chaos card, but I'm like, who even is Miranda at this point? At the same time, Amy makes her pitch to Aaron and Aaron is not interested in working with her at all. In fact, Aaron literally goes to Nick and Rob immediately and sells Amy out. Boss and Rob starts to gather people against Amy, to which Amy senses and starts to spiral, which is all sorts of hilarious. Fourth excursion, the banker asks, "Are you intuitive?" And playing in teams of two, one member of each team will face off against the other in a jet ski race to retrieve a pair of cases and be the first back to the group. Whoever returns first will have to choose to either bluff or guess. The bluffer will then look at both cases and attempt to get the guesser to pick the case of lower value, while the guesser will attempt to use their intuitiveness to read the bluffer's cues as to which case is higher. The team with the highest combined total after all 5 rounds will win the challenge, as well as safety, while any member of the losing team can be up for elimination at Temple tonight, and it will be up to the captain of that team to decide. Now, here we learn that the captain for the gold team is Dawson, and his team members are Boss and Rob, Kim, Nick, and Stephanie, while the captain of the silver team will be Amy, with Alyssa, Aaron, Jordan, and Miranda also on the silver team. Round 1 is Dawson versus Jordan. Dawson chooses not to bluff when he gets back, as he wants to guess. Boss and Rob uses his psych degree to read that Jordan is thinking on the challenge, and he's right, getting the 600,000K to silver team's 90K. Now Kim and Miranda go, and Miranda feels confident about her ability to bluff, but again, Boston Rob reads her from the bench, and Kim picks the right case. We're now at 1.45 mil to 190K. Gold team sends out Stephanie versus team captain for silver Amy. Amy feels good about her poker face given she's worked in the casino industry, but Stephanie picks up on Amy's tells and is also right. We're now at 2.2 mil to 265K. Gold team sends out Nick versus Silver team's Alyssa, and Alyssa feels like her strategy is actually to say something here, and Nick tries to use his charm on her, but remember that Alyssa is gay, so it doesn't work. Nick is wrong, and for the first time, Boston Rob team loses a case here, losing the 1.5 million case to the Silver team. We're now at 2.5 million for the Gold team to 1.765 mil for the Silver team going into our last case. And our last round is Boston Rob for gold and Aaron for silver. Although Boston Rob tries to convince Aaron otherwise, Aaron knows the only way to keep himself and Alyssa safe is to do well in this challenge and win. And Aaron actually throws Boston Rob off to the point where Boston Rob second guesses himself. And Boston Rob is wrong, meaning that the silver team ends up winning the challenge, and Amy, as team captain, will become the person deciding who will be going into the Bankers Temple. The whole team of Boston Rob, Dawson, Kim, Nick, and Stephanie. Boston Rob knows his best chance is to just go against the banker than to leave his game up into someone else's hands, so he immediately goes to Amy to tell her that he wants to play. Dawson sees this and wants either himself or Kim to play, whereas Stephanie is worried that she's also going to be a target since she's likely a stronger player than Kim is. Well, it's obvious though that Amy is going to make the move she's been talking about all episode and is throwing Boston Rob into the Bankers game. Boston Rob starts out by picking his case number 4, saying his first daughter is born on the 4th of July. His next daughter's birthdays knock out the 1.25 mil, the 90K, and the 75K, while Amber's birthday takes out the $75. His sister's birthday takes out the $850,000 case, and I'm starting to think let's stop picking birthdays here, Rob. But Rob does anyways, picking his dad's birthday and eliminating the 1.5 mil case. Then his grandma's, which he doesn't know, just one of them here, knocks out the 750K case, and then the 300K case, which is just like, oof, this is not many high numbers here, Rob. Not looking so good if you're trying to make money. However, as bad as his board is for making money, it's just as good for keeping him safe, because Boston Rob's first offer is $49,000, which is actually amazing odds for him for making a good deal. So being someone that plays the odds, Boston Rob decides to value his own safety over the final case, choosing to take the deal. And it turns out that Rob makes a good deal, as his case has $500, so he beats the banker, and all the power is now in his hands. Despite recognizing that Stephanie is still the better player, Boston Rob also realizes that getting rid of her would likely blindside most of the cast, and since he needs to keep people close, he decides to make the predictable move and eliminate Miss Kim from the game. Now, I gotta be honest, I did really love Miss Kim's fight, although ultimately she did end up on the wrong side of the numbers. We'll say the wrong side of the cast here, being that she was adamantly targeting my favorite people in the cast. So, gotta say, I get it, Kim. I wouldn't want to play a game with Boston Rob either. But how dare you? How dare you? Ultimately, though, out of all the people on her side, I think I probably liked Kim the most and resonated most with her story and think I wanted her to win the most out of the people. But now everybody else on her side, I don't really care about. I'll be honest here. Now, in a twist to end the episode, the baker calls and asks the group to choose their most trustworthy player, and they all decide that it's Aaron. And Aaron is asked to stay behind at Temple while everyone else returns to camp. And the plot thickens. Who knows? Maybe they're just going to have a sleepover. Episode 5 begins, and we're here the next morning, and Aaron is still not back to camp. And everyone is still kind of feeling it, as no one is sure if maybe he's been randomly eliminated or what. Alyssa is the most up in the air now, as her number 1 is gone, while Stephanie still feels the target on her, given that she did not go along with Alyssa's plan 2 rounds ago. Boston Rob also realizes he might need to make some new connections, but the others in the group, like Miranda and Dawson, are just not strategically on Rob's level, with Miranda never strategizing and Dawson, as cute as he is, boy is he kind of He does try to pull in Stephanie, but she's still very wary of Boston Rob, while one person who has made it clear she is not working with the Survivor alum is Amy, who continues to badmouth him to the other players, which is hilarious because we can see here that Stephanie has not trusted Rob since the jump, but at least they're both smart enough to not make this public information, but you do you, Amy. Now we get to our 5th excursion with Ask here, are you trustworthy? And we meet Joe. who goes over the rules for our next excursion with still no Aaron. He reveals today's challenge will be a test of how persuasive or how easily persuaded they can be. 20 cases are scattered out in the jungle, and the only way to find out what is inside is to return to the clearing where they will find the banker's ledger, which will give them a list of what value is inside each case. After finding out their value, they can choose to lock that value in or discard it in the favor of another case. Bob still tries to no avail to get Joe to reveal Aaron's whereabouts, and with that, the other guests are off into the jungle to look for their cases, some having to dig, some having to untie, some having to knock the case down from a very high perch. But what we learn when the first player reaches the clearing is that the banker's ledger is actually in the hands of Aaron, who is seated on a throne behind a chain with two locks. It's revealed in a flashback that this excursion is actually a test for Aaron to use his power of persuasion to convince two of the other players to bring back a case with a key to the locks of his chains. If he's unable to get the keys, then he will face the banker tonight at elimination. But if he is able to get two keys for his freedom, then the two players who picked those cases instead will be up for elimination. Coming back to the clearing first, Nick learns that his case is not great, and Aaron instead tells him to look for higher values in cases 14 or 16. Dawson gets the highest $3 million case, while Aaron tells Jordan to also go for 14 or 16. So we continue to wonder, what will Aaron do? Aaron initially wants Stephanie up against the banker, but when Stephanie spills to Aaron that she thinks that Alyssa is a snake, this changes Aaron's opinion because he realizes that means if Stephanie does beat the banker, then she will eliminate his ally. So he reveals she has a high value in order to gain some trust, but in reality, it's because he doesn't trust her at all. Instead, Miranda, who entered the game last week, shows up, and Aaron decides he's going to have her get one of the cases because she's kind with him, and since Miranda does have some trust in Aaron, but it comes down to the fact that she's not going to do anything strategizing or winning when it comes here. Miranda is not really part of the power structure when it comes here, and she's basically just disposable. And what is initially a shocking move here, he tells Alyssa to also get either case 1 or 2, which are the key cases. Boston Rob has a bit of drama when he tries to get Aaron to work with him to get his safety, but Aaron is unwilling to discuss a plan that saves Boston Rob over his top ally, Alyssa. And the ex-survivor Lem starts to realize that perhaps Aaron is not the ride or die that he previously thought that he was. But before locking in, Boston Rob makes a backup plan with Miranda and Nick as extra insurance to keep them safe, which is a great thing because when all is said and done, both ladies are persuaded by Aaron to bring back keys to his freedom, and both Alyssa and Miranda end up in the bottom two. Prior to Temple, Alyssa is a little distraught, but Aaron explains his thought process as to why he put Alyssa in the bottom, and she understands that almost anyone else may have eliminated her had they won. As a result, their next plan is to sell to Miranda that they need to put her in to get rid of Stephanie. But it turns out that's not exactly what Miranda wants to do because she's feeling betrayed and is going to knock out Alyssa if she wins. Miranda actually has game and she just showed up last episode. So we all learn here what we should know now about Miranda, that she is a pest control girly, even though again she just showed up yesterday. And apparently she wants to use any money here to start her business, the Ladybugs. So cute name. She chooses case 11 for her older brother and begins the game with 6 cases to open. Miranda starts out well, knocking out the dollar, but then hits the $1.25 million case. With some good luck, she knocks out the $50 and the penny, but then strikes out the $2 million case, which leaves Miranda with a very split board with high values and low values. Her first offer is $208,000, to which she says no deal. With only 2 more cases to eliminate, Miranda's luck increases, eliminating 2 low values in $300 and $750, which secures her the highest offer so far in the game, $937,000. But then it looks like the banker has a personal offer to make the deal even more enticing, offering Miranda $40,000 regardless if she makes a good or bad deal. Miranda realizes the offer is good enough for her to start her business, deciding to take the deal. She opens her case, revealing the $1.5 million case value, meaning Miranda has made a bad deal and is eliminated from the game. I've got to say, who who was Miranda again? She was so purple and showed up just long enough to make a deal. Like, I mean, good for her though. That $40,000 is not a bad consolation prize. So I'm happy she gets to live her dream. Happy she gets to help people with her prize, and even happier that someone with a better edit didn't go home instead. Episode 6 begins with our final 8, and it seems pretty clear the sides are starting to be drawn, as Boston Rob, Alyssa, and Aaron are on one side, with Amy, Dawson, and Stephanie on the other. Nick was seemingly on Boston Rob's side, but he's sort of caught off guard when it's revealed that he'd been targeting Stephanie, who he actually has a good relationship with. So Nick feels like everybody has been discounting him, but he actually has got a perfect score on the sanitation test, which I didn't know that was a thing. So he believes he's a lot smarter than everyone gives him credit for. That being said, Nick decides to take a lesson out of Boston Rob's book and form a counter alliance against him, forming the Night Owls alliance with Amy, Dawson, and Stephanie. I mean, not my favorite name, nor my favorite people out of the cast in this, but they have a team sound effect, so I guess that's positive for this alliance here. Yay. Stephanie and Aaron have a conversation about where they stand in the game, and Stephanie tries to get Aaron to turn on Alyssa, but it's clear that Aaron is still supporting his ally. Stephanie feels like Aaron isn't smart enough to go after her, while also feeling like Alyssa would not make a move if she didn't have support, which leads her into suspecting it was Boston and Rob who led the charge to begin with. Now, their sixth excursion asks, are you intentional? Playing in teams of two, they will use a torch to light a fuse that will blast explosives, releasing a case into the water. As the higher value cases are suspended higher in the air, teams could find extenders hidden in boxes of snakes. The team with the highest case value wins, while the lowest values will be up for elimination tonight. However, in a twist, there's also a banger's bonus up for grabs. The teams end up being Alyssa and Nick, Amy and Aaron, Dawson and Jordan, and Rob and Stephanie. Right away, Amy and Aaron decide they want the banker's bonus, securing the $500,000 case as well as the bonus. Well, everyone decides to go for the extenders. Dawson is freaking out and doesn't want to be around the snakes, so him and Jordan only take 2 extenders, leaving Alyssa and Nick and Rob and Stephanie to fight it out to determine who can get all 3 extenders first. And these are real snakes that are really biting, and Boston Rob reveals his one true fear is snakes. Although I would have also put gross food on that list too, since he sucks at those challenges too, Rob, just saying. But Boston Rob gets the third extender for him and Stephanie a bit before Nick gets his last one for him and Alyssa, but it's still a neck and neck race over those large case values. However, Boston Rob is able to secure the $3.5 million case first before Nick, who gets the $2.5 million case. Although Alyssa is able to get the $2 million case, with Stephanie's $1.5 million, her and Rob easily win the challenge over the other duo. Aaron attempts to get the last largest case left, which is $750,000, but he ends up losing his grip on the torch and dousing it in the water, which he has to go back to land to relight his torch, losing massive amounts of time for him and Amy. This allows Jordan to easily snatch the case from Amy and Aaron, and with no other values higher, Amy and Aaron are a bottom 2 for this episode. However, they are in possession of the banker's bonus, so who knows what could happen here. Now, going into Temple tonight, Boston Rob wants Amy to play, and it seems like Aaron and Boston Rob are subtly pushing her to make the decision on her own, which ultimately Amy decides she's up for the challenge, wanting to go into the elimination game and take out Alyssa. The Night Owls have a quick meeting, and it seems like they have, someone different they want out since Alyssa wants Stephanie out, but Dawson finds Aaron to be the more powerful player of the two. There's a funny moment where Alyssa goes to pitch herself to Amy, but she says she's not going to pitch herself, but then she pitches herself anyway. But it seems like Boston Rob is going to get what he wants with Amy playing, but will Amy get what she wants, especially with the banker's bonus in play? Now, the game begins, and Amy picks case 8 for the month of her wedding, and the game begins, as she starts right away knocking out the $2 million case. After taking out the $750, she then takes out both the $1.5 million and the $3.5 million, leaving the $2.5 million as the only case she has above $1 million at this point. He gets lucky next, knocking out the $300, but then hits the $600,000 case. Amy's up and down luck continues as she gets rid of the penny, then also $750K. Amy's final case gets rid of the $50, and all she wants is a glass of wine when all the banker has for her is her first offer of $152,000. The odds are in her favor to make a good deal, but does she want more money for the pot? Yep, she does, so she says no deal. Amy now has to open 4 cases this round, starting out with the $500 and $75. She does hit the half million, but Amy's bribe to Kamari for a foot massage yields her the $1 case and an offer of $825,000, with 2 larger offers and 1 smaller offer on the board. Amy says no deal and snipes out the $2.5 million case as a result. This leaves Amy with 2 cases and one final offer of $467,000. So the question is, does Amy have the $850,000 or the $100 case? Amy decides for the final time to once again reject the last offer, and it will now come down to a face-off. But before Amy opens her case, the banker calls and tells the group it's time to reveal the banker's bonus. And Aaron reveals that tonight is a non-elimination night, as no one is leaving because of the bonus, which is a great thing for Alyssa because Amy has the $850,000 case and would have made a good deal and likely would have just eliminated her. Instead, our final 8 will remain as they compete with a final case now over $2.8 million. Now, episode 7 begins with everyone returning from the non-elimination, learning that they have officially made it to the halfway point, milestone which is celebrated by fireworks. The next morning, Alyssa and Stephanie are back to targeting each other, which is forming contention within the Night Owls because they all want Boss and Rob out, but Stephanie feels like Alyssa is the real target of that group, even though in reality Alyssa is really only coming for Stephanie, not the rest of the group. Alyssa is on her own, doing her own plotting, just because she tries to plant seeds of doubt about Aaron to Boss and Rob, to which almost he does bite here, but he doesn't. We also finally meet Jordan after 7 episodes, who is taking this experience so seriously as it could change the trajectory of her family's history. But we also see Boss and Rob try to sell Stephanie on going after Jordan or Dawson as the quieter targets, although it's clear to him she's playing a bit more emotionally as she continues to try to target Alyssa despite Boss and Rob's suggestions. Now, in their 7th excursion with asks, "Are you decisive?" Players will be split into teams of 2 and must paddleboard out to one of 8 locked cases. They will return to the beach to open their case, revealing their randomly decided case amounts, with the highest case amounts being a total of $4 million. They can decide after retrieving their first chest if they want to lock in these values or discard these values for another chest. Meanwhile, there are keys scattered about in the chest as well, and if a duo gets a key, they can choose to use it to open the golden safe with a $5 million chest inside. But if they do, they will have to take an unknown punishment. With so much tension in the air, as the 2 sides have never been more divided, we get our teams, which are Alyssa and Jordan, Amy and Stephanie, Aaron and Dawson, and Boston Rob and Nick. And with that, the challenge begins. Now, Alyssa says she's an avid paddleboarder, so her and Jordan get off to a great start, getting their chests back first. They have the 2 million and the 1.25 million, which equals out to 3.25 million, which I thought was really good. But knowing that there's a $4 million chest out there, they decide to discard theirs and go back for another value. Amy and Stephanie get back next, revealing that they have a key. The risk reveals here that in order to open the gold chest and get the $5 million briefcase, then both of them will be placed in the bottom 2, and one of them will face the banker. They decide to take matters into their own hands, choosing to open the gold chest and take the $5 million case. Boston Rob and Nick are the biggest team left and are definitely struggling on the boat here the most, allowing Aaron and Dawson to come back next with the $1.6 million total, deciding to put that back. Boston Rob and Nick only get $1.8 million, deciding to go back for another chest as well. So now all of the teams have decided to go back here, other than our team that's decided to sacrifice themselves. As each team has switched cases, they are all forced to lock in their second guesses with one unknown chest floating out in the ocean. Now, Alyssa and Jordan revealed they have $2.5 million in total, but it beats Aaron and Dawson, who have $1.3 million, meaning it comes down to Boston, Rob, and Nick. And it doesn't look so good initially here when they only reveal the $500,000 in their first case. but their second case has 2.5 million, meaning Boston, Rob, and Nick win immunity and will determine which of Amy or Stephanie will face the banker tonight. With the writing on the wall, Stephanie has decided she wants to play against the banker tonight, so seemingly seems like Stephanie wins here that Alyssa is going to go, which isn't actually a bad thing for Boston Rob because that means he gets Aaron all to himself. Now, the temple begins here, and Stephanie decides to choose case 2, and her game begins with her opening 7 cases. She initially knocks out the 1.75 mil right off the bat, but the $300 and the $100 go next, until she removes the 2.5 mil and the 750K from the board. Stephanie counters with the $500, but then knocks out the half million in her final cases, leaving a pretty small right side of the board. But she basically keeps the $5 million still in play, so her first offer is 251K with 3 cases to open. But before we get to the offer, Joe asks for Alyssa's advice, to which Alyssa says she's not even paying attention. A catfight breaks out between Alyssa and Stephanie, and it's like, oh my god, yes, finally some drama. With the odds in her favor clearly heated up from this conversation, Stephanie decides to take the deal and is ready to separate herself and Alyssa. And she has the penny, which makes sense because that's how much I value Stephanie at this point. Meaning she made a good deal without even having to ask. Alyssa stands up, says her speech, and walks out. But then things get even more dramatic when Stephanie continues to go off on Alyssa, which causes Aaron to have a panic attack and storm off the set, saying he might be leaving too. I'm like, oh my god. I was actually so gagged by all this, I didn't see any of this coming. I mean, you even heard me just like choking earlier, like gagged by this. Like, just so surprised that this all took such a turn because everything seemed like low key at this point up in this show. But wow, 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 did the show deliver in tonight's episode? Alyssa seemed to be someone that the edit was randomly focusing on early on, so my initial assumption that she was going to be an endgame player, but as her edit started to turn more and more negative, and that scene with her trying to outplay Boston Rob only to get caught happened here. It definitely seemed like Alyssa was biting off more than she was able to chew. But you know what? I respect her for playing so hard from start to finish. And Alyssa ends up being one of my more favorite people on this cast that we get to watch. Because, I mean, after she leaves, I don't know if the drama is as good. As we open episode 8, I have to say I did lie a little bit here because this resolution here, as we figured out that Aaron actually doesn't quit, and him coming back to the campsite with the rest of the final 7 at the start of the episode is actually a pretty good drama. Aaron is like a shell of his former self, though, because he's clearly distraught over losing Alyssa, and more tension erupts when the group asks Aaron to sit with them, only for Amy to start ripping into Alyssa immediately, which causes Aaron to leave the group in a dramatic fashion. There's a nice moment when Boston Rob has a nice heart-to-heart with Aaron, trying to pick him up a bit, and Jordan joins in as well, attempting to play the middle between Aaron and Boston Rob and the Night Owls. So their 8th excursion will test how meticulous the players are, as they will have to race into the jungle and follow a rope attached to a case value. This rope twists and turns and is tangled up with a bunch of other ropes, and they must be precise in order to get one of the top 4 case values and return back before the time limit. As in a twist, the top 4 this round will win safety, while only the bottom 3 values will be up for elimination. In another twist, each player will have a sand timer and a bottle of sand, getting to choose to sabotage one player with their sand. Amy goes first, not wanting to anger Boston Rob in case he wins, so she sabotages Aaron. Nick goes straight for Boston Rob, while Jordan picks Nick in order to stay neutral and not pick a side. Stephanie also doesn't want to be Rob's target, so she sabotages Jordan. Boston Rob realizes no one wants to really show their hand, so he sabotages Amy, while Aaron sabotages Dawson. With the last move, Dawson decides to add on to Aaron, meaning Stephanie will have the biggest time advantage, while a deflated Aaron will be headed out in last. Stephanie is out first, and she has the most time to try to figure out what case she wants to go for, but for some reason it's taking up all of her time. Like, it's taking her a really long time to try to figure out what these top 4 cases are, and literally everyone but Aaron ends up being released before she makes a decision. Stephanie eventually picks the case amount, goes for it, just as everyone else shows up. Amy, Dawson, and Jordan decide to go for cases no one else is going for, while Nick and Boston Rob duke it out for the highest ranking case. Amy starts to get very annoyed at the challenge and is having issues following her rope, deciding to just instead turn and find the nearest case and come back with it. Meanwhile, Boston Rob realizes in order to be safe, he only needs one of the top four cases, so he decides to let Nick go for the next. Or go for the largest case, and he goes for another case. Boston Rob grabs one, but notices Aaron, who is finally let go, and he's just kind of wandering around, so he decides to help his ally out by giving Aaron his case, and Boston Rob decides to go for another one. However, Aaron is clearly discouraged and is just not trying that hard at all. Nick ends up getting back first, revealing he has the $4.5 million case, meaning he has the top value, and he will decide who will face the banker tonight. Boston Rob gets back next, revealing his random case is the $3.75 million case, that the one that Dawson was actually trying to go for. When Dawson gets back, it turns out he actually has the 2.7 million, which is outside of the top four, but he doesn't have enough time to attempt to risk to get another case. Amy comes back, deciding to take her $3 million case and risk being at risk. While Stephanie comes back, and after having all of the time with the advantage, turns out she actually picks the fifth highest case value instead of one of the top four, which is like, girl, what did you even do with your advantage? That means that if Jordan and Aaron can get back with the last two of the top four cases, then they could put all of the Night Owls up for elimination and guarantee one goes home. And I'm like, oh my god, please let this happen. Jordan gets back with only a couple of minutes left, getting the $4 million case and guaranteeing her safety. So now all Aaron has to do at this point is just get back. But wow, he is literally not trying hard at all, and he's just so over it. So when Joe shouts there's only a minute left, he decides to just drop his case and head back in defeat, having no case and now being up for elimination against Amy or Dawson. Now, Boston Rob tries to convince Aaron to get Nick to throw him in to face the banker again tonight, but tonight is Dawson's night that he is determined to make a big move. Knowing if Aaron wins the banker's game, he could eliminate Amy or Dawson, Nick realizes that throwing Dawson in to win the game and eliminate Aaron may be the smarter move. So, as expected, Nick decides to throw in his fellow Night Owl and not your stereotypical gay dude Dawson to face the banker, since he's the only one out of the three that hasn't played this game. Dawson reveals his main motivation tonight is to allow his mom to retire and move back home, and that's a noble cause. Choosing case 3 as the youngest of 3 kids, Dawson has to open 6 cases in his first round. Dawson has one of the best luck streaks I've seen in this game thus far. Although he does knock out the $3.75 million case, he also knocks out $500, $750, a dollar, a penny, and $100, leaving a board filled with huge values as the banker calls with his first offer, $1.166 million. Feeling good about his chances and wanting to build a pot, Dawson says no deal to the first 7-figure offer of the game. Cases open, Dawson has a change of fate as every case is a high value, eliminating the 4.5 million, 3 million, and 4 million. Despite this, though, Dawson gets the highest offer in the game so far at 1.399 million, which isn't the best odds as there's a 2 in 3 shot that his value is above that. However, the banker calls with even more for Dawson as he wants to end the game now, deciding to make Dawson the largest personal offer so far in the game, $100,000. But if Dawson takes the offer, he'll have to eliminate himself. And I've got to say, this is a very enticing offer. It would be really hard to reject a guaranteed $100,000 with 6 people still left in the game, and you're not even guaranteed to beat the banker tonight, you know? A chance versus a guarantee. Well, Dawson decides to go with the decision I think I would have made here, deciding to eliminate himself and guarantee the $100,000 personal offer. This brings the final case close to almost 4.5 million, which is an insane amount of money. Turns out Dawson was holding his $2.75 million case, so he would have made a bad deal either way, but you know what? Regardless, he's out. So, suspiciously, yet another one of Rob's adversaries is given a personal offer too good to refuse. Coincidence? I mean, probably, but I mean, let's not be real. Boston Rob here at this point is the huge selling point of the show. He truly is a star, and I am firmly a Boston Rob defender. So again, the riggage in his favor, I am completely fine with, if there is any, especially because I find the rest of the Night Owl Allens really meh. Like, also when it comes down to Dawson, he was likable enough. Maybe my favorite out of the Night Owls, minus his limp. Ooh, ooh. But there were things about him that kind of really turned me off, like his constant need to remind us how macho he is, yet he was scared of literally every animal or insect in the jungle. As a fellow gay, I'm glad to see him leave with some cash, because, 100K is amazing. That's like what the runner-up of Survivor gets. I mean, you know, take that shit and run, boy. Go for it. Episode 9 begins the next morning with our final six, who are obviously still split up with Boston Rob and Aaron on one side, the Night Owls on the other, and Jordan still in the middle. Amy, Nick, and Stephanie officially bring in Jordan into their alliance, which she calls them the Nighthawks. Jordan is just ready here to play all sides and continue to play in the middle, while Boston Rob has a pep talk with Aaron, getting his head back into the game. Their ninth excursion asks, "Are you ruthless?" And they're split into teams of two, decided by themselves, with a navigator who will need to direct a driver across the island to gather unmarked cases from two locations. The navigator has the values of the cases on a map, but there are also two red cases on the map, one containing a steal and the other containing the lowest value of amount available. The teams are Amy and Jordan, Nick and Stephanie, and Aaron and Boston Rob. Nick and Stephanie want to get all the power, deciding to try to get the highest value cases. Meanwhile, Boston Rob and Aaron just want to be last so they can control their own fate, being sent in to play the game tonight. But the Night Owl strategy is to work together to make sure Boston Rob and Aaron are in the middle so they have no power at all. Halfway through the challenge, though, Aaron changes the channel on the walkie-talkie and communication goes dark between him and Boston Rob. So Boston Rob has no choice but to just pick a case at random and return. At the same time, it doesn't seem like Stephanie and Jordan are communicating very well together at all, as it seems like they both kind of want to be on top. Amy gets super lost and eventually just takes the red case for herself. Aaron and Boston Rob reveal their red case, showing the lowest case value at 1 million. Amy and Jordan have a steal, having to decide whose case they're going to steal. They decide to steal one from Nick and Stephanie, bringing their total to 8.5 million. Nick and Stephanie take the 1.5 million in the steal, getting the 5.75 million overall. Aaron and Boston Rob show their last case as the highest $5 million case, bringing them to 6 million and making the Night Owls plan a success, as it's Nick or Stephanie who will now face the banker, while Amy or Jordan will decide between them who will it be. Aaron sadly has sabotaged Boston Rob, and it is now the worst case scenario for both of them. Amy and Stephanie spend the evening just talking shit about Aaron and Boston Rob, and I'm just like, ew, I hate this alliance because they're making it so personal. While it's very clear, like, Boston Rob doesn't care about any of them. He just wants to play the game. Like, why do we have to make this so personal, y'all? Like, that's why I don't like Amy or Stephanie. At the same time, too, like, Stephanie especially started out so like I don't want to play this game one way. Boston Rob is gonna lie, but like when it comes down to it, Boston Rob really hasn't even done anything. Stephanie's been the one lying, and she's literally just been so grossly hypocritical when it comes to this whole thing. I don't mind her playing the game, but admit that it's a game from the start, y'all. Like, don't hate people for playing the game. Like, ugh, whatever. Anyway, fearing for her own safety, Stephanie once again plays some more tricks, telling Nick that Boston Rob tried to imply that if Nick won, then Stephanie could be in trouble. So it's funny to see them do the exact same thing again that they're accusing Boston Rob of doing. Now, before Nick can play though, we get some even more drama as Stephanie's scheming comes to light, finally, and Boston Rob and her get into it. As Boston Rob expertly reads the situation, that Stephanie is the one causing all of the drama because Boston Rob has already realized that this game he doesn't have to backstab people like he typically would. So this causes a lot of confusion, as even Aaron agrees they've never targeted Nick, and even he is having trouble adding up Stephanie's story here, as we learned from Nick as well going into this elimination. Also, I'm even more confused because why is Nick wearing pearls? Like, why is this man pearls thing? I don't like it. And I hate this Night House Alliance even more now. I just want them all to lose. Anyway, Nick chooses case 9 in honor of his brother's fiance's brother's baseball number, and the game begins. And he ends up knocking out in order the $5 million case, the $500 case, the penny, the dollar, the 1.5 million, the $300, 4 million, and the $100. But with so many high values still on the board, the banker gives an opening offer of $983,000, to which Nick rejects, deciding to open 2 more cases in the final round. He ends up having an amazing stroke of luck here, knocking out $750 and 1 million, leaving the 4.25 mil and the 4.5 mil, getting the biggest offer in Deal or No Deal history of $4,417,000, which is like, what is this craziness? Nick obviously takes the deal, but was it a good deal? Turns out Boston Rob is the one here whose luck continues as Nick reveals that he had the $4.5 million case, meaning he has made a bad deal, which, yes, like I was fully expecting Boston Rob Swan Song tonight, but oh my god, we get to continue with Stephanie versus Boston Rob. I love this. Nick ultimately goes home here. I did kind of like Nick up until he showed the man pearls. I don't get that. Also, like I feel like his edit was for Joe to just keep making like random jokes, but instead of having Dick in them, he would say Nick instead. Glad that storyline's over because it's kind of getting really sick of this big Nick energy stuff. So, bye Nick. I guess you were cute enough, sort of. Episode begins following Nick's elimination, and there's a lot of tension given Boston Rob and Stephanie just had their fight. The fight seems to have made everyone question everything, as Amy begins to wonder how much she can truly rely on Stephanie. At the same time, Stephanie continues her smear campaign against Rob, going as far as to double team on Aaron with Amy, trying to get Aaron to turn on Rob. Jordan says she feels bad about their tactics, but she doesn't really do anything to stand up for Aaron either. So, Jordan has got to be like the most passive aggressive player ever. But for the first time, it seems like Aaron is actually becoming receptive to this, to turning on his number one, realizing that he may not be able to beat Boston Rob in the endgame. Instead, Amy seems to be his ideal endgame candidate as the two solidify their final two that they discussed earlier this season. Wow, we love some foreshadowing when it comes back, a few episodes later. That's some good episoding there, don't we? Good episoding. Now, their 10th excursion asks, "Are you powerful?" And it will reveal what the players want more, money or power, as they each will one by one take a jet ski to the other side of the bay to a clearing where cases will be waiting for them, each with an insane amount of marbles along with it. They will use the marbles to vote for which player they want to see go into the banker's game, with the lower case values having the more marbles, while the highest case values, like $6 million, only comes with one marble, but a $75,000 personal offer. To make things even more interesting, there's a counter for the group that starts at $10 million that will drop down $50,000 for each minute challenge goes on. We also learned that retrieving the highest case value does not ensure safety, as anyone could be eliminated tonight. Stephanie gets to pick the order since she survived the bottom two last week, choosing the order to be Boston Rob, Amy, Aaron, Stephanie, then Jordan. Boston Rob takes a really long time opening out this challenge, just trying to figure out what his best decision should be, losing over 2 million off the counter before even making his decision to take the lowest case value, but gives all 7 of his marbles to Aaron. Rob eventually comes back with only 6.5 mil on the counter, which is like, ooh, not as good start for the group, and it seems like Aaron finds this a little sus. Amy takes the 75k personal offer in the highest case, giving her only 1 vote, which goes to Stephanie. With 5 mil on the counter, Aaron takes off in search of his case. While this is happening, Amy tries to secure an alliance with Rob in order to keep herself safe. Aaron decides to take back the $4 million case with 5 votes, giving them to Rob, but when Rob sees what case Aaron brings back, it clearly means he's not on the same game plan they agreed to, making Rob realize that Aaron may be starting to turn his back on him. Stephanie instead takes the 3.5 million case, choosing to use the 6 marbles for Amy, hoping Jordan makes the final decision to send Amy in to face the banker. With only 2 million on the timer, Jordan takes the next highest case value of 5.5 million and comes back without disclosing who she gave her 2 marbles to. And it turns out she gave them to Boston Rob, meaning Aaron and Boston Rob tie with 7 marbles apiece. With the highest value here, Amy must break the tie, deciding that since Aaron made more money, he should face the banker, immediately betraying the alliance she made with Boston Rob minutes before. Aaron mentions that he was worried Boston Rob may have came for him if he was facing the banker, which seems like Aaron is just trying to justify reasons to turn on Rob here. Rob has a real heart-to-heart here with Aaron, and it does really seem to change Aaron's opinion, but Aaron still knows that he needs to take Rob out, which is kind of sad because it feels like this is Rob's most genuine season, maybe of all time, possibly for me. Anyway, we get to the temple, and Aaron becomes the first person on Deal or No Deal Island to play the banker's game twice. But we learn that this will be the last night that anyone will be able to add money to the final case. He chooses case 10 once again for his girlfriend, his lucky charm, and his first round, he splits the board as he eliminates low values, penny, dollar, and $50, but also high values of 3 million, 4 million, and the 6 million. The banker offers $589,000, to which Aaron says no deal to. With 3 cases to open in round 2, his luck gets even better as Aaron knocks out the $100 and the $500, but then also the 5.5 million. With 3 values remaining, $750, 1 million, and 3.3 million, Aaron's next offer jumps over 7 digits to 1.199 million. Ooh, this would mean if Aaron accepts the deal, the final case value would be well over $10 million. With a 2 in 3 shot at making a good deal, Aaron decides to take the offer, revealing the back and forth debating on whether or not Aaron was going to backstab Boston Rob here didn't even matter because his case actually has the $3.5 million, meaning Aaron has made a bad deal and is eliminated from the game. I really grew to enjoy Aaron a lot throughout his stay in the show here. I never truly expected him to win just because he was so bad at these challenges, but he ended up being a lot more entertaining and likable than I expected him to be. There were definitely moments where he really tried my patience, but I do understand some people are just, far too kind to be on shows like this, and I'm kind of a douche. I would do any of these things, so I take these things like, with a grain of salt. I'm ultimately glad he gets himself eliminated because I was kind of fearing for his life if he ended up being the one to take out Rob. Because one of the positives of the show was seeing the relationship between Aaron and Boston Rob grow. And even I kind of teared up at Rob's last word to Aaron because you could really tell their friendship is so genuine. So I would have just been really bummed if things ended any other way. So, part one of our 2-part season finale begins here with our final four of Amy, Jordan, Stephanie, and Boston Rob. Following Aaron's elimination, you could definitely feel a change in the atmosphere when it comes to Rob's game as he's now all alone, so it seems like he really wasn't lying when he said that he needed Aaron. The other women are just happy to be sitting in the end, and while I'm happy for Jordan, I could really care less for the way that Stephanie played this game because she's now at the point where, again, she doesn't care about telling massive lies, and she just feels so hypocritical for her to chastise Rob, who hasn't been doing that, for her to just do it herself. Amy is just a bad player. She's funny on occasion, but she clearly has no idea what she's doing, so watching her play all sides between the Night Owl women and Boston Rob is funny, given she's telling him now she's ready to play ball with Boston Rob once again. At the same time, Stephanie and Jordan also make a deal. Not that Jordan trusts Stephanie, but she finds Stephanie to be the easiest final competitor, which I would agree with. The final four have a victory banquet the next morning, which looks so good. Oh my god, some of these meals, I'm just like, can you cook for me, please? They have a discussion here with what they want to do for the money, what they win, and it all seems like a very genuinely nice moment. But all the nice list is just the calm before the storm as a helicopter drops off a note for them that their next excursion will be the ultimate test, as well as teasing to reveal the identity of the banker, which, spoiler alert, doesn't happen in this episode. Nothing happens this episode. So rude. Anyways, their final four challenge is revealed to us, which will take up the remainder of the episode, is a maze, as they must navigate through the banker's garden, aka a large maze in the middle of the jungle. and they must locate and retrieve briefcases of an undisclosed value. To make things even spicier, two players would face elimination here, with the last player to exit the maze overall with the slowest time is eliminated first, as well as the next remaining player with the lowest case value. In order to gain access to the maze, the banker has one final riddle for them, which they must solve to release a map pinpointing the briefcase location, which they will then trade at a certain point to get the keys to their briefcase. The final riddle is what is the total number of cases brought back from all of the excursions to date, which turns out to be 75. Amy discovers the correct answer first, slowly taking off into the maze. Now, here's where all of the drama from this episode comes in here when Boston Rob violates the rules of the challenge by looking at Amy's completed board to get the solution to the puzzle. Now, this is bad on Boston Rob because it was clearly stated in the rules when Joe was talking that you cannot look at another player's board. But we also need to be fair to Boston Rob, who comes from a background of games where, like on Survivor, it's fair game to look at anyone else's answers in a challenge. So I get it's hard to shake almost 20 years of gaming one specific way to switch to another, but rules are rules, and it's a sign of great sportsmanship here that Boston Rob just owns up to taking his punishment versus making a big deal about it. And his punishment is not immediate disqualification, which, yay, it turns out instead to be a time penalty. Boston Rob is permitted to continue participating in the challenge, but he's assessed a 3-minute time penalty. Now, this penalty requires him to wait until all of the contestants start their maze, and that's when his penalty timer will begin, meaning he has to wait for both Stephanie and Jordan to figure out the right answer before his 3 minutes starts. And all of the drama from this episode comes in as the women struggle, as Boston Rob struggles to endure his time penalty, and the women struggle to just do this maze. Eventually, he gets to enter the maze after the women all get in. Eventually, Stephanie goes in first, and then Jordan, and Boston Rob has to play catch up in what could possibly be one of the greatest comebacks of all time, if Rob is able to do it. Now, Jordan, who turns out to be a very fit runner, makes the best time in the maze, and Stephanie, being the big cheater that she is, just decides to run after Jordan and let her do all the hard work. Poor Amy is just too short and does not do cardio, so she is quickly passed by the other women who get to their cases first. As Amy gets to her case and she starts to come back, who does she see but Boston Rob, hot on her trail. In an attempt to distract him, Amy lies to Boston Rob that there are no cases left at their location, which makes Boston Rob have a hilarious comment to Amy's children that she just doesn't care. I mean, it's kind of hilarious that they make an alliance like immediately before that, and Amy immediately breaks it. Like she has not kept her word once at all whatsoever. Hilarious. Might not care. What we do care about, though, is this finish because this challenge has lasted for hours at this point, and we just need a winner. Jordan is the first to escape the gardens, followed quickly by Stephanie. This leads us up all to a horrible cliffhanger ending as Amy slowly makes her way out of the maze as Boston Rob uses his last bits of energy to attempt one final comeback. And let me just say at this point, this is a completely egregious cliffhanger because they literally spoil the outcome of this scene in the upcoming show's preview at the end of episode 1. So this feels like a completely rude way for everyone to be like, oh, look, Boston Rob isn't out. He still has a chance in the finale. So you guys need to watch it because instead they could just like eliminate him here. And they would just ruin the chances of no one watching the finale. But I mean, like at this point, if we are this invested in it, we're gonna watch the finale, or at least Google the winner. So you know what? Let me just remove my tinfoil hat here as we sit for 1 week to figure out who wins the foot race between Amy and Boston Rob, and guarantees their spot Jordan and Amy in a chance at the final two to become possible winner of Deal or No Deal Island, Season 1. Back to the start of our official season finale, we have learned that it is Amy who unfortunately emerges from the maze first, and sadly, Boston Rob's luck has officially come to a sad end as he is the slowest player to conquer the Banker's Gardens and is eliminated from the game. I won't lie, I'm completely mad about this, mainly because he was really my only source of investment in the show, especially after Claudia was taken from us rudely so early. Aaron and Alyssa were back and forth, and Jordan kind of comes around at the end, but in reality, this season was Boston Rob's from start to finish. While he did have tons of lucky breaks, it's unfortunate that he did kind of do this one to himself because otherwise, 9 times out of 10, I feel like Rob makes it through this challenge any other day. It's kind of ironic that all his experience from, games past ultimately got him to this point, but after being public enemy number one, it's just also funny that the same exact experience that led him to this point, like, led him to also getting equated to the rules being just all the same on all the franchises that he's been on. So, anybody who thinks that he just got the game handed to him on a silver platter and all the lucky breaks weren't actually luck, I think you could look at this as an example right here, because you could guarantee right here the producers probably didn't want him to go out. So for me, this game ends like right here. It's unfortunate because we're just left with a very, very poorly edited final three. It now comes down here to the cases to determine which of our final three will become our final two. Lauren opens her case first, revealing 3.5 million. Stephanie opens her case next, and it's 3 million, meaning Jordan has have her final two spots secured based on this. This now means Amy must get a case above 3 million, so that way Stephanie can be eliminated and hopefully her home karma will come back to her. And she opens her final case, and it holds 3.75 million. Thank you. For the first time, I'm actually rooting for Amy, and I'm so glad she comes through for me here. Meaning Amy advances with Jordan to the final two, and it is Stephanie that is eliminated. All I have to say here is Karma, she's a bitch, and she's with Steph right now. That's what she gets. She literally is eliminated mere seconds after Boston Rob. So all I'm going to say is, Abish, go home. Next. To our final excursion, which is a face off between Amy and Jordan. And it turns out kinda underwhelming for me, honestly. They must climb a ladder and use ropes to scale a tightrope fastest. The player who gets to the final gold case by grabbing the middle red rope strand is named the winner of Deal or No Deal Island. It is also named as the banker's ultimate opponent. Now, Jordan takes her time going very slowly and steady, and Amy is just like on for a second and then off, on for a second and off, on for a second off. Like it literally seems like when this is first going here, that it's gonna end in the first like 2 seconds, just because like Amy cannot stand on it, and Jordan is getting like such a good lead here. But then Jordan falls off too, and it's even, at least going into the commercial break, because Amy starts to think her only chance is for Jordan to fall off the rope so she can get a head start. So she starts like shaking it with her foot, which is a good strategy if Jordan wasn't already like a third of the way through. Like Amy should have just gone. I get it that she was probably struggling otherwise, but she needed to find a way to somehow like use that grip strength, hold on, because she needed to just go and not like try to find like some crazy ass strategy, move forward with it, because ultimately it doesn't work. And her opponent grabs the middle red rope the fastest, eliminating Amy from the game. And I will say, I gave Amy probably a lot of crap during this season, a lot more than was probably warranted. I can just say I never expected her to last as long as she did. I do think the final excursion was a little, again, random, all things considering, and very underwhelming. Um, they did say it was going to be a final challenge, and so for the game to be challenge based and Amy to last this long, I think she did really well. So all things considering, I think she should be proud that she did have to earn her way here. But it's also kind of hilarious that she basically had no chance in the final challenge, whoever she was up against, except maybe like Aaron. So now it feels like the strategy in future seasons is just going to be like, well, find your Amy, find your Aaron, and just find someone who's bad at challenges, and then just make sure that you could get them as far as possible. If you're good at challenges, you might want to make an alliance with the rest of the strong people and pick off the other goats who people might want to carry to the end for an easy win. There's lots of layers of strategy here that we get into, but that's another video because I am just so happy to say that the winner of Deal or No Deal Island is Jordan. But hold up. Nelly is just getting started, as we don't even know what she wins yet. We learned that the highest case from the maze game, 3.75 million, will be added to the final case, meaning that it is at $857,000, which is an insane amount of money, and Jordan signals the final flare to signal the banker for their final confrontation. And it's revealed that the banker is Howie Mandel, and he touches down in a helicopter, and it's a fun little moment where he officially challenged Jordan to the first deal or no deal game of the decade. Because, I mean, literally, it's the first proper game we're getting in the 2010s, so, see what I did there. And one thing about Howie being the banker, like, I love him, and obviously, it's cool seeing him here, and obviously, he needs to be here at the end, like, otherwise, why are we doing this? What does this mean for the canon of the series? Has he been talking to himself the entire time? If so, who is the man behind the shadows pretending to be the banker? Was there never anybody there the entire time? Was it a hologram? I need answers, and I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. Thanks a lot, Howie. However, we do get to our final temple, and Jordan shows up looking oh so pretty. And she comes for her final confrontation with Howie. And we learn here it's going to be live. So Howie can give his offers and do his best antagonist impression live for us here, which is a lot of fun. A little change up from what we normally get here. So I enjoy the change. Um, we learn here again, that it is Jordan's first time to face the banker, which is fittingly in the finale. And we learned that the highest values will be all of the cases from every excursion, but the low values are literally $1,000 or less, which is like so cheap. We got 22 cases here, and Jordan decides she wants case number 19 for her husband's jersey number growing up. So the game begins, and in round one, she must eliminate 6 pieces. She knocks out number 6 first, which knocks out the 3.5 million. Number 13 takes out the $750. Claudia suggests number 16, which holds the 1.5 million. And it's like, oh, nope, don't listen to Claudia no more. Amy suggests number 10 because the final three are all Libras. This makes me in my eyes. But also, I mean, it turns out to do well here because the $500 is in the case. Case number 2 takes out the 6 million, which is like, oof, that was a bad decision. While Alyssa decides for the last case that she should pick number 3, and Jordan does, and he takes out the $300, which was a good choice. Now, again, since we're live, Howie is in the temple, and his first offer is $203,000, which is kind of a lowball offer for the start of the game, but I get it, we have to start somewhere. Obviously, she says no deal, moves on to round 2. Now, this round starts out a little rough because she takes out one of the $1 million cases. Nick suggests number 17 because Michael Jordan's birthday is the 17th, and so are Nick and Jordan, so obviously we should pick it. And I mean, it's actually a good call. This takes out a smaller case. Amy then calls out the $100 case, and then she decides to go for case 21, which takes out one of the $5 million cases. Which is like, oof. Amy, however, counters, calling out a low value will be in case 20, which there is in its number, the $1. So we get to Howie's second offer, which is again another low ball offer, as she has 6 high values over the 5 low values, and we get a $607,000 offer. But with the odds on her side, Jordan decides to keep going. Round 3 starts, and there's 3 more cases to open. Number 1 is open for Claudia, taking out the 1.5 million. Again, another rough start and another reference to Claudia. Would you stop making things for Claudia? It's not helping you, Jordan. But things get worse for Jordan as number 4 also takes out 1 million, and number 9 takes out the 3 million. However, Howie says tonight this offer is different than all the other ones that he's made during his time on the island, because this one is an offer to build Jordan's life. And we get our first 7-digit offer with $1,197,000 being on the table. Jordan pulls the eliminated players. 5 of them say that they would take the deal, but the majority say no deal. So Jordan agrees, and it's no deal, which is like, wow, imagine turning down that amount of money. So, in our 4th round of the game, which I believe is our longest long round that we've seen so far in the series, she picks case number 22, which reveals the $25, which is an amazing start, and then decides to pick case number 18. which takes out our case of $13 million, which is like, no, like that is so rough. She does, however, leave 2 high values on the board, with 4 low values also on the board. Now, when Howie talks here, he decides that he's actually a little worried that she may have a huge value in her case, despite the odds not being in her favor, deciding to give her the highest offer deal or no deal history of $1,230,000, which is just insane. Realizing that she came here to set records, and with nods of approval from everybody in the eliminated peanut gallery, Jordan decides to take the deal, which, insane, $1,230,000. That is pretty good. I mean, she did less than what they do on Survivor, went through a lot less, and won more. So I gauge everything basically after how like things are compared to Survivor. So Deal or No Deal Island isn't sounding so bad right now. Now Jordan opens her case, revealing only the $1,000, meaning she made a fantastic deal. So while this finale was kind of meh, and I felt like we could have just done this all in one episode. I'm very happy, if we didn't end up seeing Boston Rob win, that Jordan is the winner of the show. She definitely seemed the most humble and strategic of the final 3, with her being able to flow seamlessly between Boston Rob's crew and the Night Owls, which showed that she understood the rules of the game. She slipped into the shadows, which I feel like the editors were trying to maybe go for some sort of shock room here, but it obviously, at least to me, felt obvious once they gave her some real content that she was a lock to win, especially because there were just so many people after Boston Rob, to the point where it felt like his luck was going to run out at some point, and then there were just, no other good alternatives. Ultimately, while there are endings that would have been a lot more exciting, I can't deny that perhaps maybe the best person of the season is winning. So we did see a history making offer happen. So I'd say, other than the casting, Deal or No Deal Island was a pretty good success. Also, congratulations, Jordan, and I wish her and her soon to be large family all the best. So that's my thoughts on the season. I know I definitely felt some type of way, so let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below so we keep spilling that tea off. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, this is Renegade signing out. Bye!
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Time for you to go.